They said these motorcycle names would last forever, but 2025 just proved them wrong. The open road feels different now, and not in a good way. Dealers are closing, brands are bleeding, and riders are paying the price. This isn't just about machines. It's about loyalty, identity, and what happens when the icons of the road start to fall. Stay till the end, because the #1 name on this list will shock every rider who thought it could never happen. Number 7. Norton. Few names in motorcycling carry the weight that Norton does. Born in Birmingham at the turn of the 20th century, it became a symbol of British engineering pride and racing dominance. Norton wasn't just a company, it was a movement. The name echoed through the Isle of Man TT, through polished helmets and oil-stained garages, through the sound of twin engines that defined an era. For decades, riders didn't buy a Norton just to travel. They bought into a belief that craftsmanship and courage could be forged in metal. But in 2025, that once mighty belief trembles on thin ground. The brand that once set standards for performance and design now struggles for its footing. Mismanagement and financial collapse in the past decade stripped away more than money. They stripped away trust. Enthusiasts who once wore the winged N with pride watched as headlines replaced heroics. Unpaid suppliers, delayed deliveries, and court cases left a scar that even the roar of a perfectly tuned twin couldn't cover. For a brand built on integrity and precision, that betrayal cut deep. When new ownership stepped in, hope flickered again. TVS Motor Company, with its deep pockets and global reach, promised to rescue Norton from the brink. Factories were rebuilt, production restarted, and public confidence cautiously reignited. The company spoke the language of revival. Heritage, craftsmanship, British spirit, and for a moment, the dream of a restored Norton felt within reach. But time has proven that reviving a name is far easier than reviving faith. Riders don't forget broken promises, and trust, once lost, demands more than a fresh coat of paint. In the United Kingdom, Norton's rebirth carries patriotic appeal, a rebuilt headquarters, sleek new showrooms, and promises of innovation make good headlines. But across the Atlantic, the story feels different. American riders, especially those who remember Norton's glory days, find little to hold on to. Dealerships remain scarce, marketing feels distant, and brand visibility hovers near zero. Owning a Norton today can feel like owning a memory, beautiful but impractical. The passion is still there, but the presence is not. That's the paradox of Norton's modern identity. It trades heavily on its past while struggling to define its future. It sells nostalgia, yet the market demands dependability. It flaunts its Britishness, yet relies on foreign ownership to stay alive. Every decision the company makes must balance the romanticism of what was with the reality of what must be. Too much heritage, and it looks outdated. Too much change, and it risks alienating the faithful few who still believe. Riders who grew up admiring the Norton name feel the loss most sharply. They remember the sound, the stance, the engineering that stood toe-to-toe with Triumph and BSA. Today, that admiration feels more like mourning. The bikes are being built again, yes, but a brand is more than machinery. It's confidence in the company behind the badge, the assurance that your investment will be supported and your ride respected. Norton's problem isn't horsepower, it's heart, and how to prove that it still beats strong. Yet despite the scars, Norton endures. The name still stirs emotion wherever it's spoken. There's something stubborn in its DNA, an unwillingness to vanish, a refusal to surrender to time. Every revival, no matter how fragile, reminds the world that greatness once lived here. It's that spirit that keeps old riders hopeful and new ones curious. Norton may no longer dominate the roads or podiums, but its presence still matters because it represents something bigger than commerce. It represents the belief that legacy can outlast failure. For now, Norton rides the edge between survival and surrender. Its story is a lesson written in oil and iron, that prestige without reliability fades, and that history, no matter how glorious, must earn its tomorrow. In 2025, Norton stands as both a warning and a wish. A warning of what happens when pride outruns prudence, and a wish that true craftsmanship can still find its way back onto the open road. Number 6. MV Agusta. There are motorcycle brands that build machines, and then there are those that craft emotion. MV Agusta has always belonged to the latter. Born from the Agusta family's aircraft company in the ashes of World War II, it carried an identity rooted in elegance, competition, and unrelenting pride. From the 1950s through the 70s, MV Agusta wasn't just a participant in racing, it was the champion. The brand's name became a synonym for precision, passion, and beauty on two wheels. Riders didn't just buy into a motorcycle, they bought into a legacy that celebrated art in motion. But in 2025, that same legacy feels heavy, pulling the company toward the edge of relevance. MV Agusta's greatest strength has always been its ability to stir emotion. Its motorcycles look sculpted rather than assembled, machines that seem alive even while standing still. That devotion to craftsmanship made MV Agusta an icon, but it also became its curse. In a world driven by scalability and service networks, the brand remained small and proud, choosing perfection over practicality. The result was a company admired from afar, but difficult to sustain up close. Limited production, fragile finances, and narrow distribution left it vulnerable, no matter how striking the bikes themselves were. The brand's history reads like a series of resurrections. Each decade brought a new savior, a new investor promising stability, and a new round of optimism. Yet the cycle often repeated. Flashes of brilliance followed by long stretches of struggle. Every revival produced excitement, but rarely the infrastructure to make that excitement last. MV Agusta became the quintessential boutique manufacturer, beloved by enthusiasts, but invisible to most of the mainstream. That fragility makes its current chapter feel familiar and perhaps a little tragic. Recent years have seen yet another attempt to restore balance. New partnerships and capital injections have given the company breathing room, but not without questions. Purists debate whether the soul of an Italian legend can survive under foreign influence. To them, MV Agusta represents more than motorcycles. It represents national pride, the craftsmanship of a country that built machines with both science and soul. Outsourcing survival may save the company, but it risks softening the very spirit that made it sacred. Across the Atlantic, the brand's footprint remains faint. In the United States, MV Agusta occupies a strange space, revered by collectors, admired by riders, but rarely seen on the open road. The name carries prestige, but not presence. Service centers are scarce, parts harder to find, and long-term ownership feels uncertain. For older American riders who measure loyalty in miles, that's a deal breaker. They may love the idea of MV Agusta, but they also know that beauty alone doesn't get you home. What keeps MV Agusta relevant, even as it fights for stability, is its refusal to bend. It continues to design with heart, to race with pride, and to dream like it's still 1950. That stubbornness is both its virtue and its flaw. In an industry obsessed with efficiency, MV Agusta remains defiantly artistic, an echo from a time when motorcycles were built by hand, not software. The question is whether that defiance can still survive the demands of a global market that prizes volume over vision. In 2025, MV Agusta stands as both a masterpiece and a warning. It reminds the world that emotion still has value, that craftsmanship still matters, and that heritage, while powerful, must evolve to endure. The brand's future rests on whether it can honor its legacy without being trapped by it, a test that even legends can fail. For now, MV Agusta endures on passion and pride alone, its engines humming not just with power, but with the sound of a company still refusing to surrender. If you've been riding long enough to remember when these names ruled the road, hit that like button and drop a comment. Tell us which brand still earns your loyalty. Number 5. Moto Guzzi. Few motorcycle names carry the kind of soul that Moto Guzzi does. Founded in the early 1920s on the shores of Lake Como, it has been the beating heart of Italian motorcycling for over a century. Moto Guzzi isn't just a brand. It's a statement of craftsmanship and endurance, a symbol of pride for riders who believe that a motorcycle should have both personality and purpose. The name alone evokes the hum of air-cooled twins echoing across mountain passes and the unmistakable rhythm of mechanical honesty. But in 2025, that rhythm is starting to falter as this legendary brand struggles to stay visible in a market that has moved faster than its tradition. For decades, Moto Guzzi has been defined by its commitment to individuality. Its motorcycles never chased trends or imitated competitors. Instead, the company built machines that reflected the Italian idea of balance between art and engineering, passion and practicality. That commitment earned it loyal followers who valued authenticity over hype. To them, owning a Moto Guzzi wasn't about status or speed. It was about belonging to a brotherhood of riders who believed in simplicity, torque, and timeless design. But loyalty has its limits when the modern market demands progress. Over the years, Moto Guzzi has found itself overshadowed within its own corporate family. As part of the Piaggio Group, it shares space with younger, more aggressively marketed brands like Vespa and Aprilia. The result has been a slow fade from the spotlight. Funding often flows toward what sells fastest, leaving Moto Guzzi to rely on nostalgia and word of mouth. The brand's presence in the United States, once a proud cornerstone of its identity, has thinned to a whisper. Fewer dealerships, limited availability, and minimal marketing make the name feel more like a secret handshake among veterans than a choice for new riders. Moto Guzzi's quiet struggle hasn't broken its dignity. It remains noble in a world chasing trends, crafting soulful machines that feel human. Yet limited resources, slow progress, making caution look like resistance. Older riders remember its proud legacy, but younger generations seek speed and tech. Caught between tradition and modernity, Moto Guzzi risks becoming admired history instead of a living symbol of Italian craftsmanship and spirit. Still, hope remains. The brand has recently shown signs of awakening, with renewed investment in its historic Mandello del Lario headquarters and quiet promises of modernization. For a company so steeped in legacy, this could be the spark it needs, a chance to blend tradition with the expectations of a new era. But hope alone won't guarantee survival. Without stronger visibility, improved dealer support, and a louder voice in the marketplace, Moto Guzzi risks becoming a cherished relic rather than a living legend. In 2025, Moto Guzzi represents both the beauty and the burden of heritage. It stands as proof that true craftsmanship never goes out of style, but also as a warning that tradition without evolution can turn strength into vulnerability. The eagle emblem still spreads its wings, but the flight grows heavier each year. Whether it soars again or fades into quiet history depends not just on the machines, but on whether the world still has room for a motorcycle built with heart instead of haste. Prices are crashing. Your protection shouldn't. See the description for proven gear and accessories I trust. Gear up now, then we roll on. Number 4. KTM. Founded in Austria in the early 1950s, it began as a small workshop determined to prove that European engineering could go head-to-head with anyone in the world. Over the decades, it built a reputation on power, precision, and a fierce dedication to performance. The company's ready-to-race philosophy wasn't a slogan, it was a culture. Every bolt, every frame, every engine it produced came with that single-minded obsession to be faster, tougher, and bolder than the rest. But in 2025, that same obsession has become both its engine and its enemy. The rise of KTM has been nothing short of explosive. From dirt trails to the asphalt, it expanded across every segment of the market with incredible speed. Its boldness made it one of Europe's most recognizable motorcycle brands and earned respect from riders who valued machines that pushed boundaries. Yet expansion comes with a cost. Running at full throttle year after year left the company stretched thin, financially, logistically, and strategically. The more KTM grew, the harder it became to maintain balance. Even the toughest racers know that staying wide open for too long can burn the engine out. KTM's relentless ambition once fueled its rise, but now strains its stability. Restructuring and rising costs reveal a company stretched thin. Riders still respect its innovation, yet crave reliability and long-term trust. KTM sits between two worlds, adrenaline and accountability, struggling to evolve from niche racer to global brand. Its fierce authenticity inspires passion but limits appeal, leaving older riders uncertain and younger ones seeking something steadier for the open road. Still, there's no denying the spirit that drives KTM. It's a company born from grit, and grit doesn't surrender easily. Even in tough times, KTM refuses to compromise on character. Its leadership continues to push innovation, explore new markets, and chase technological excellence. That persistence deserves respect. Yet passion must eventually meet pragmatism. Without a stronger foundation, more dealers, consistent production, and clear long-term strategy, the brand risks becoming a victim of its own intensity. In 2025, KTM stands as a reminder that greatness demands more than speed, it demands endurance. The company has the history, the engineering, and the spirit to survive, but survival will mean shifting gears from constant acceleration to measured control. If it can manage that balance, KTM might not only endure, it could redefine what resilience in motorcycling truly looks like. If not, the same ambition that fueled its rise may one day write the story of its fall. Number 3. Indian. From its founding in 1901, Indian represented the American spirit in motion, a balance of strength, innovation, and endurance. Its machines served in wars, set racing records, and carried the image of freedom across generations. But as the years passed, that legacy became both its greatest strength and its heaviest burden. In 2025, Indian still rides, but the path beneath its wheels is far rougher than it appears. The brand's history reads like a cycle of triumph and turmoil. It has died and been reborn more times than most riders can count, each revival fueled by the hope that the American market had room for two legends. The latest chapter began when new ownership took control and poured serious resources into rebuilding Indian's image. For a time, it worked. The styling turned heads, the sound stirred hearts, and the craftsmanship felt authentic. Indian became a real contender again, not just a nostalgic echo. But staying relevant in the modern market requires more than passion. It requires consistency, and that has proven elusive. Indian's biggest challenge isn't its engineering, it's its identity. The brand leans heavily on heritage, wrapping itself in the imagery of the early 20th century. Yet it operates in a century that demands agility and innovation. Its connection to the past still inspires older riders, but for younger ones, that connection can feel distant. They admire the craftsmanship, but crave something more modern, more flexible, more forward-looking. Indian's strength is in its roots, but those same roots sometimes hold it back from reaching new ground. Indian's limited dealer network makes ownership challenging, with fewer service centers, part shortages, and long travel for maintenance. Riders admire the machines but crave reassurance. Beyond logistics, the brand still seeks identity. Harley-Davidson built a brotherhood. Indian is building belonging. Its loyal community is passionate but young, needing deeper roots and shared tradition to transform respect into lifelong connection and secure its place among America's enduring motorcycle legends. Still, Indian endures because it stands for something pure. It represents craftsmanship without shortcuts and a defiant belief in doing things differently. The brand refuses to vanish, and that refusal alone earns respect. Every motorcycle it builds carries echoes of the soldiers, racers, and dreamers who once defined its glory days. That spirit keeps Indian alive, even when the business winds turn cold. But in 2025, survival means evolution. The brand must adapt faster, reach farther, and reconnect with riders who see motorcycling as more than nostalgia. It has the power, the legacy, and the craftsmanship, but it needs to find its next generation of believers. Indian was once the future of American riding. Now it must prove that its best miles are still ahead. If you believe riders deserve the truth before the next collapse hits, subscribe now and join the Brotherhood, because the open road's future belongs to those who stay informed. Number 2. Harley-Davidson. Born in Milwaukee in 1903, it became the machine of the working man, the soldier, and the outlaw. For generations, its sound defined freedom, that low rumble of the V-twin echoing across small towns, highways, and open plains. It wasn't just a bike, it was rebellion on two wheels, a promise that life could be lived on your own terms. Yet in 2025, that promise is being tested like never before. The company that once symbolized unshakable independence now faces questions about its direction, its identity, and its survival in a changing world. For over a century, Harley-Davidson thrived on consistency, steel, chrome, and soul. Riders didn't just buy motorcycles, they bought a lifestyle. But times have changed. The younger generations, raised in cities and connected by screens, often see the brand as a relic of their parents' era. They admire the legend, but not always the lifestyle. The world that built Harley's dominance, blue-collar pride, cheap gas, and wide-open roads, has shifted into something faster, smaller, and less sentimental. The result is a company that still builds icons, but for a shrinking audience. Inside Harley-Davidson, the struggle is clear. The leadership faces an impossible balance: how to evolve without betraying tradition. Every time they modernize, experimenting with electric platforms or sleeker designs, they risk alienating the core riders who see change as compromise. But if they stand still, they risk fading into irrelevance. It's a delicate fight between heritage and survival, and the line between the two grows thinner each year. Longtime riders still feel Harley-Davidson's fading spark. They remember when the badge meant pride, presence, and personal connection, handshakes, rallies, and shared miles. That spirit remains but grows quieter as crowds thin and nostalgia replaces movement. Meanwhile, faster, lighter rivals challenge Harley's throne. Character once defined it, but sentiment alone can't sustain it. To survive, Harley must rediscover relevance and prove its roar still belongs on today's open road. Yet even in its struggles, Harley-Davidson remains unmatched in one regard: loyalty. Few brands in any industry inspire the kind of devotion Harley does. To its riders, the name represents belonging, an unspoken brotherhood of men and women who see freedom not as a concept, but as a commitment. You don't just ride a Harley, you live it. That devotion may be the brand's greatest hope. In 2025, Harley-Davidson stands at a crossroads. One road leads back to comfort, to building the same bikes for the same riders until the market runs dry. The other demands boldness, new technology, new designs, and a willingness to redefine what it means to be American-made. The risk is enormous, but so is the reward. Because for Harley-Davidson, survival has never been about staying safe. It's about keeping that heartbeat alive, the unmistakable pulse of freedom that began in a small Milwaukee garage and refuses to fade, even as the world races ahead. Number 1, Suzuki. It was the dependable choice. The brand riders could trust to deliver honest performance without breaking the bank. For decades, it represented balance, a perfect mix of reliability, value, and practicality. The kind of motorcycle you could start after a long winter, ride across states, and still count on the next morning. For working men and weekend riders alike, Suzuki symbolized straightforward engineering done right. But in 2025, that strength has become its weakness. The brand that once defined reliability now struggles to define itself at all. The core of Suzuki's identity has always been consistency. While others chased trends or experimented wildly, Suzuki stayed steady. It built motorcycles that didn't need to be the fastest or flashiest. They simply worked. Riders admired that. Mechanics respected it. The company's reputation was built not on marketing, but on trust earned mile after mile. Yet as the motorcycle industry evolved, that quiet dependability began to look more like hesitation. Competitors embraced bold design, digital technology, and aggressive marketing, while Suzuki remained conservative. In a market that rewards innovation, playing it safe can feel like standing still. Part of the challenge lies in Suzuki's divided focus. Unlike many of its competitors, Suzuki is not just a motorcycle company. It's a global manufacturer of cars, engines, and marine products. The motorcycle division, once a crown jewel, has slowly slipped into the background. Investment has leaned toward automobiles, while the motorcycle side receives fewer resources and less attention. The result is visible: a brand that still builds capable machines but lacks the energy and ambition it once carried. The sound engineering remains, but the excitement that used to surround the name has faded. In America, Suzuki's decline feels undeniable. Dealerships have dwindled, marketing has gone quiet, and its once strong highway presence has faded. The brand remains respected but distant, seen by younger riders as a relic of another time. Yet beneath that stillness lies proven excellence, decades of reliability and craftsmanship waiting to awaken. Suzuki stands at a crossroads, needing not reinvention, but renewed fire to remind riders why its legacy still matters. In 2025, Suzuki's biggest battle is not against competitors, but against complacency. The brand must choose whether to evolve or quietly drift into the background of its own industry. The world still respects the name, but respect without reinvention doesn't last forever. Suzuki's challenge now is to turn its heritage into momentum, to remind riders that reliability and passion can still coexist. If it succeeds, Suzuki could reclaim its rightful place as a symbol of dependable performance with purpose. If it hesitates, it risks fading into memory, a once great name remembered for what it built, not for what it became. The road ahead is clear, but the throttle is in Suzuki's own hands. The road ahead is changing, and not every brand will survive the ride. But the spirit of real riders, that never dies. If this list opened your eyes to how deep the collapse runs, hit like so more riders see it too. Subscribe for the next breakdown, because the next brand to fall might be closer than you think. And tell me in the comments, which name do you think still deserves a second chance?